This video is going to show you how to make a bank deposit slip from information you've already captured in your invoices file and in the money file. I'm going to go to the money file first of all and show you what I mean. You'll remember from the video on making payments in the invoices file that when payments were posted, they end up coming through to the money file. And these were two examples we used, a payment from Mr. Durnham and a payment from Genesis for R100 each. One was cash and one was payment by check. And if you were to scroll across to the right in the money file, you'll see that anything posted from the invoices file carries the invoice number with it and the patient on whose behalf it was paid. You'll also see that each transaction in the money file has a number auto-allocated to it, and you'll remember from the video that showed you the day sheets that were printed automatically at the end of the day, showing you that these numbers were indicated on the day sheet. So just to recap, you can see there are two payments here, one from Mr. Durnham and one from Mr. Genesis. And if you look at the transaction numbers that you would get from the day sheet, they were 99000096 and 97. I'm going to go back now to the home page, and I'm going to open the bank deposit slip, and I'm going to make a new bank deposit slip, and you'll see that gets auto-entered with today's date. It'll have your bank account details entered automatically, and these details, along with everything else, comes from the start file. Please look at the separate video to show you how to set these up. This bank deposit slip consists of the part that prints for the bank, which is to the left of this imaginary line I'm drawing down here, and which looks like a standard bank deposit slip. And then the part to the right, which is really the part that allows you to have an audit trail of where that money came from. For instance, if it was cash, on the bank deposit slip you would add up the number of 100 notes and 10 rand notes and coins, etc. here. But to the right, on the part that doesn't print, you'll have been able to see exactly where all that cash came from, which allows you to error check and prevent fraud very well in your practice. Now you will remember that there were two entries we were going to use for the demo. One was a cash deposit from Mr. Durham. So I'm going to go up here and put in that transaction number, which normally you would copy from the day sheet being printed out the day before. So the idea is to do these bank deposits the first thing the following morning using the day sheets from the night before. I'm going to paste that in or copy it from the day sheet. And you'll see what that does is it says that much cash came from Mr. Stuart Durnham, and it was allocated against that invoice number. There was also one from Genesis, which was the same number except it had a 7 on the end. And in this case, it pulls out the data from the money file. The check had been made out by Genesis. It was for R100. The check date was the 8th of the 3rd, 2004. It was on behalf of Mr. Stuart Durnham, because remember this would be a medical aid paying it. And that actually payment was on an unallocated invoice, but if it had been allocated against an invoice, the invoice number would have been here as well. Now when this gets printed for the bank only sees this. Sorry, I was trying to put the R100 in under the total cash, which is a calculation of all of this. Let's just say you received R100 as a 100 Rand note. The total cash would have been 100 Rand. Genesis gave you a check for 100 Rand. The total credit going to your bank account would have been 200 Rand. And you can follow exactly where that money came from. When this prints, by clicking the print button, 2 copies are printed. One gets given to the bank with the check, or in fact they both get given to the bank stamps the one and returns it with you. So in a hard copy file and your computer, you've got a good track of where all the money that's come into your practice has come from. These bank deposit slips are incredibly useful and very time-saving, rather than manually having to type out or write out all the information from every check you get in the practice.